Welcome to the Success Partner Podcast. I'm Daya Naef, your host and founder of The Success Partner. On this show, we dive into the stories of attorneys, business professionals, and entrepreneurs who have navigated the ups and downs of building successful careers and businesses. From the strategies they've implemented to the challenges they've overcome, we're here to uncover the insights that can help you on your own journey to success. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Welcome back, everybody, to the Success Partner Podcast. I am your host, Daya Naef, and today I have the honor of introducing Evan Polin of Polin Performance Group to be our guest today.
Hi, Daya. Thank you very much for having me as a guest today.
Yes, it's going to be so much fun. I'm so looking forward to it. So tell us a little bit about Polin Performance Group.
So, Polin Performance Group, I have a sales coaching and sales consulting business. And my primary audience, about 3/4 of who I work with, are people who never in their worst nightmare ever thought that they'd have to do anything having to do with sales or business development. A lot of my clients are attorneys, are professionals. They went to school for much more noble things, but at some point in their career, realized that if they wanted to make partner, if they wanted to go out and have their own firm, they needed to learn one of the things that they were never really taught in school, which is how do you go out there? How do you grow a book of business? And that's where I come in, and that's what I help my clients with.
I love that. How do you softly put that so that it doesn't sound like, I don't know, or do you camouflage the sales training with other terms, or do you come straight out and say, hey, this is what it is?
Sales is a 4-letter word for a lot of people in the industry. So any sales professionals listening to this, if you hear me say business development, don't tell anyone I'm really talking about sales. But yes, so I have over the years softened the language. I actually had a sales training franchise. I had a sales training franchise with my parents for a very long time. We had a Sandler training franchise. And about 10, 12 years into having the franchise, the owner of the franchise came and asked us, because I was working with more law firms, attorneys, accounting firms, my father and I were, than anybody else in the country, if we could kind of tailor their sales approach to attorneys and accountants and professionals. So we kind of took the Sandler methodology and stripped out what really didn't work for professionals, what was a little too salesy, added in some of the things that we knew worked really well for attorneys, for professionals. And we wrote that book. So that book's called Selling Professional Services the Sandler Way. And the subtitle is Nobody Ever Told Me I'd Have to Sell, because it is a little bit different when you're talking about, especially for folks selling the B2B legal services, talking about litigation, talking about being a fractional legal counsel is a little bit different than selling software, than selling office supplies. So really did kind of tailor the business development approach for those folks.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I get that. It's like nobody told me I'd be selling, but there's so many things we have to sell in our lives and we just don't, we don't think about it. So you do coaching and consulting. How do those services roll out for you?
So for me, I am a big believer in ongoing training and coaching over time and helping people with incremental improvement and with being able to put into practice what we're talking about. So I am typically working with clients anywhere from 6 months to I have some clients that have worked with me off and on for the last 20 years. And it's really about meeting people with where they are. I've worked with people who have a $5 million book of business, who want to have a $10 million book of business, who just aren't quite sure how to get from where they are to where they want to be. And I've also worked with attorneys who have had no book of business, who want to get that first $100,000 in their own origination. Quite frankly, it's harder to go from 0 to 100,000 than it is from 5 million to 10 million. So I customize a lot of what I'm doing based on who I'm working with. And even oftentimes, if I'm working with groups within a firm, I'm ideally also working with each individual person on a one-on-one basis to help customize something based on where they are, based on their strengths and weaknesses. There's 15 or 20 different things that people could be doing from a business development perspective. It's not a one-size-fits-all. So really looking at where someone is, what their strengths and weaknesses are, what they're comfortable with, what they're willing to try, and then customizing the approach based on that. And sometimes for folks, it's a matter of helping to really give them those skills that they never got, they never learned. It's not that they can't do it, it's just that nobody ever taught them how. And there's also a lot of folks that I help who know what they should be doing, but they're so busy that they just haven't figured out how to carve out the time. They may be the managing partner of their own small firm, or they may be a partner in a firm, and there's nobody to hold them accountable. And there's nobody to call them out on their stuff when they come up with excuses in terms of why they're not doing the stuff they know they should be doing. So sometimes with my clients, I act more as an accountability person, really making sure that they're implementing the things that they know they should be doing. So it's really a matter of me talking with people at the beginning, finding out where they are, what they need to accomplish, what's been holding them back, and then tailoring the program around that. And then as we're working together, kind of tracking the results. Because at the end of the day, it's really easy if people are working with me to know whether or not it's working. They kind of look at the book of business and they look at their pipeline when we start working. They look at their book of their business or pipeline 6 months down the road, a year down the road, and it should be pretty black and white in terms of whether or not what we're doing is working.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then how you can tweak it and say, okay, well, this is where we have the gap. So I get that a lot too. I get the pushback on, well, when am I going to have time to do this? Do you have a secret sauce for how you can help them find time?
So for me, it goes back to how important is this to you? If you're doing this because somebody else has told you how to do it, but it's not really all that important, you're not going to find the time. If it's really important, then we can talk about time blocking. We can talk about time management. If it's somebody who's managing partner of a mid-sized or larger firm, what are you currently doing that could be delegated? What are lower level things that you could be doing? And if you really want to make it work, we can figure out a way to do it, especially these days with technology. You can draft emails at 8, 9 o'clock at night and have them scheduled to go out 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. Nobody's looking at what time of day something was posted on LinkedIn or those kinds of things. So it's really a matter of how committed are you and how much do you really want it? And if the answer on a scale of 1 to 10 is less than a 7, well, it doesn't matter what tactics I give you, you're not going to implement them. But if it's really important, you're going to find a way to make it work.
Yeah. And I think at a certain level, keying in, it depends on firm structures and whatnot, but finding out that you can actually be making money on business development, but then not having to spend the hours after you do your client relationship, of course, but you're not the person in there, hounding out the paperwork. And if you can wrap your mind around that, then it makes BD a lot more fun.
Especially if you're in a firm that's got multiple practice areas. So again, if I can go in there and I can sell work that another practice group is doing and I'm getting some kind of origination credit and just managing the relationship, at that point, it's a win-win. And oh, by the way, you start to make yourself really valuable to your firm.
Yeah.
And I just met with a client this morning who will become a partner by the end of January. And one of the things that we're talking about, and it's a very large national firm, and quite frankly, this person is investing in herself on the business development side, knowing what the impact of the career could be when she's really successful. And part of our plan for 2025 is making sure that she's bringing in a certain amount of business that she won't have to service, because her real goal is in 5 or 6 years to just really kind of work on the clients that she wants to work on and to be able to manage, but otherwise to be able to delegate out that day-to-day work. And you can really only do that if you've got that nice book of business that you're able to generate and bring in.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I also have people who come direct, even though their firm should really be paying for it. They do come direct and just fitting in, making sure I'm fitting in with their culture, but still bringing home what they want to succeed. So when you work with a firm, like a group, do you do is it a blend of like training and coaching? What does that look like?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, it tends to be a blend of training and coaching depending on attorney's availability, depending on a firm's budget. I'm typically meeting with the group once or twice a month.
Okay.
And then I'm meeting with each individual that I'm working with once or twice a month on an individual basis. So I'm getting content across in the group setting. And then in the individual coaching, it's everything from, okay, what is your origination goal for the year? And let's help you with a plan to put it together, to I've got this really big meeting coming up with a potential client. Let's spend some time strategizing the opportunity. And then the other thing I've added to my practice over the last 3 or 4 months that my clients have found to be really helpful is I now have an accountability app for my clients. So we come up with what their goals are, everything from putting together the plan and check boxes of what they should do to what they need to be doing on a weekly, monthly basis. I've also got some content in that app so they can go back and help with put together their elevator pitch and go back to it, go back and get a reminder on questions they should be asking to build strong rapport or develop urgency with their clients. And they can get that touch in between the times that I'm seeing them. And they have found that to be a tremendous help. And it's been great because I don't need to be on call 20 for people to have access to the things that we've gone over together.
Oh, that's awesome. I would definitely want to talk to you more offline about that. Really leveraging technology. I'm for that as well. And sort of putting your money where your mouth is to actually roll out a product like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely been a game changer between that and using the Fathom app to give people an overview of what we discussed in the coaching session, and them to be able to talk and see what next steps they committed to doing between that time and the time we're talking next. And then for me to be able to go back and refresh myself on a previous conversation, because as I get a little bit older, my memory is not what it may have been, a little while ago. So for me to be able to have that cheat sheet is really helpful to be able to stay on top of my clients and really be able to help them build the kind of practices that they want to build.
Yeah, that's awesome. I used that just this morning. I had combined notes from about 8 sessions with a client, and I was just sort of scrolling through and realized we hadn't touched on work-life balance. And it is something that had been a thread in every conversation we'd had over the 8 sessions. But we got so concerned about making the end of the year goals and all that I'm like, hey, you know what? I mean, it's practically the beginning of the year. Let's say this is a beginning of the year client call, and like, hey, let's move this back to the top. I keep seeing it coming up in the notes and we haven't done anything about it. So yeah, absolutely love that. So what do you think is the very biggest challenge that your clients face?
So I think that's a great question. I think there's a couple of challenges. One that you brought up just a couple minutes ago, that where do I find the time to do it all? And if I am successful in bringing in clients, how do I then go ahead and make sure that those clients are getting serviced? So I think that is one big challenge. I think another big challenge, and I'm sure that you see this a lot as well, people kind of get stuck in a rut. Okay, this is what I've been doing. I've been doing it over and over. So to kind of break out of whatever patterns they're stuck in, to be able to try something different, to be able to take a little bit of a risk, for some people, that's the biggest challenge. Most of what I'm working on with folks is not rocket science. Once you learn how to do it, it's not, you don't need to be born with it. It's something certainly you can be taught, but you need to be willing to try something new. And for a lot of people, that's the hardest thing, is taking that leap of faith, going out. They know they're a really good practitioner. They know their stuff. They went to school. Now it's, geez, I've never really done this before, or I kind of sort of did it once and it didn't work out really well. I wasn't really successful, so I'm not quite sure that I want to go out and take that risk again. I think that's where the real challenge comes in.
Yeah, that reminds me that you have a counseling background, so that I can see you creating the space for that. Like, hey, we're going to take this risk, but it's going to be right here to catch you, kind of thing.
Yeah, now if attorneys think they have a non-traditional path to sales, I've got a master's degree in social work, and that was my background before coming in. So a very non-traditional background, but again, just goes to show you anybody can do it if I can do it.
I love it, and the complementary aspects of that. So wonderful. Well, yeah, good.
Yeah, no, a lot of the most of people's biggest challenges is the space in between their ears.
100%. Well,
So
tell us. I was going to say, tell us what you do for fun.
So for fun, I am an avid sports fan. I live outside the Philadelphia area, and I am an avid sports fan. So going to sporting events, doing fantasy football, traveling, spending time with my almost 18-year-old and my wife. So we're going to be empty nesters soon. So it's spending as much time as we can with my son before he goes off to college.
Yeah. Where's he going to go?
We're right in the heat, right in the middle of that right now. We've heard back from several schools, but we're still waiting to hear back from several other schools. So check back in with me in 2.5 months, and hopefully at that point we'll know where we're headed.
Yeah, you'll have a nice pennant in the background. My son and my money go to, and we'll know.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Evan, for coming on the show today. I will have your contact information in the show notes so that people can reach out. And again, this is Daya Naef. I am the host of the Success Partner podcast. And today we've had Evan Polin of the Polin Performance Group.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the Success Partner podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation and found some valuable takeaways to apply to your own business journey. Remember, this show is brought to you by The Success Partner, where we help small law firms and business owners achieve unparalleled success through strategic guidance, operational excellence, and effective marketing. If you're ready to take your business to the next level, visit thesuccesspartner.net to learn more. Until next time, keep striving for success, and I will see you in the next episode.